Welcome to Sacred Caregiving. My name is Barbara, and if you're grieving this season, I just want you to know that you're not alone. We're talking about the layers of grief that slide down the chimney like Santa Claus on Christmas Eve and then whack you straight in the heart. You don't expect it. You think you're ready, no matter how much time has passed. But then the season arrives, and suddenly you're face to face with the memory and absence and the ache of what's no longer there. "11 years ago, just before Thanksgiving, my mom died on her birthday, November 7th. And 3 weeks later, I walked into my dad's cousin's house, still carrying that raw grief with me. And one of her sons hadn't heard and asked how my mom was, just in casual conversation. And I, kind of choked back a little bit of tears and said she had passed a few weeks ago. And that moment split the holiday and every other holiday since wide open. At that point in time, I was okay. I had swallowed back tears. I was actually kind of proud of myself that I hadn't cried. And then it came time for the prayer over the meal. And I was like wiping back tears, not wanting the whole family to see my grief. That fear of not looking good, of not looking like I had it all together, even though there were times I was barely holding it on. But then there were other moments. Catching up with cousins I probably hadn't seen since we were all like teenagers. And I made it through that holiday and all of the subsequent holidays. Sometimes with tears, sometimes with laughter, mostly with the combination of both. And 10 years later, 2024, I got a triple whammy. Thanksgiving rolled around again, and it's already an emotional holiday without mom, because the holidays always think about my mom and about other people who have passed. And grandma passed away 6 days before Thanksgiving. And that year, I had already lost my Uncle Frederick on my mom's side. My dad's side, we had already lost my Uncle Larry. Now we lost Grandma. And for as long as I can remember in my childhood into like my young adulthood, we always had Thanksgiving at Auntie Deb and Uncle Larry's house. Basically, we had it every year at their house until most of the family moved away and Auntie Deb and Uncle Larry downsized. And then Auntie Deb and Uncle Larry eventually moved to Oklahoma, and the tradition of gathering at their house for Thanksgiving eventually resumed. Now, even though Uncle Larry had passed, and even though it was her first Thanksgiving without Uncle Larry, Auntie Deb still cooked. We gathered at her new apartment for the first Thanksgiving after she had sold the house. The table was still full of love and laughter and cousins and nieces and nephews giving each other a hard time. Because in my family, we always say that if we're not giving each other grief, then and we're being civil to each other, then you know something's wrong. And you know we're actually pissed at each other if we're being cordial to each other. But even with all of that, the holidays changed. Some seats would never be filled again. Not with bodies anyway, but just with memories. Grief doesn't come in clean lines. It doesn't come in specific stages. It comes in echoes and waves, in dishes no one knows how to make anymore, in stories no one tells quite the same way. So we adapt, we shift. Maybe we change the menu. If no one eats a certain dish, let it go. You know, maybe light a candle in memory of someone. Name the losses, not to reopen wounds, but to honor love. I can remember being on vacation with my absolute favorite band brother, who's sure to happen to be born today. And we were all seated around the dinner table, and the boys raised a toast in honor of mom. And that just moved me so much. I think I was probably crying then too. And you may have noticed in your own grief, holidays feel different. Caregiving during the holidays means navigating resistance, yours and theirs. So here's what has helped me. Pacing. You break the day into manageable pieces. Give yourself permission to feel whatever it is you are feeling. You don't necessarily have to be cheerful unless that's how you're feeling. You know, grief will hit you at the weirdest times, and you might find yourself suddenly crying over a piece of pie. Presence, quiet compassion is sacred. So, this holiday, I'm inviting you to adapt with love. If you're grieving this season again, know that you are not alone. There is room at the table for your stories, your tears, your truth. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a caregiver. It truly is sacred work.